Thank you so much for joining me for this yoga session. Hopefully you are feeling good. You're doing well. This session is going to be a little bit more intense, moderate to intense. Of course, you can always modify to make it fit your fitness level. I do recommend having a blanket and blocks and also something to drink. And we'll get started, letting yourself settle in on your breath, finding that comfortable seat, taking time to settle in. Letting that breath get fuller and deeper as you get more comfortable in your seat. Recognizing that some days it's going to be easier than others, and that you should show up with kindness and compassion and love for yourself no matter what you encounter. And the more you practice that, the easier it is to access. And so know that the time that you take is always beneficial. So let the breath get as full and deep as feels good. That breath helps to keep you nourished and conditioned and help to carry you through the class. The inhale brings the breath into your lungs. The exhale, you press it gently out of your lungs. So try to get that full exchange of breath. Breathing any way that feels good to you, whether it be through your nose or your mouth or a combination of your nose and mouth. And after a few moments, start to direct the inhale to fill up the bottom third of your lungs, then the middle third, then the upper third, and then release fully, upper, middle, lower. So start to build that 3-part yoga breath. Letting that 3-part yoga breath help to keep you anchored in the present moment, help to keep you anchored in your body. Feel yourself press down into your seat, anchoring into your mat so you connect to the floor and the building, the ground the building's built into. Really feel yourself anchor in there. Let your breath be as full and deep as feels good to you. And as you fill up that lower third, press your navel in the space in front of you. Then feel the middle third fill up. Feel the ribs move up and apart, and then breath goes into the upper third. Feel your heart move up in your chest. And then exhale, heart and chest relax, the ribs move down and together. And then you pull that navel up and back into your body. So try to maintain that sensation of both anchoring in and then also lifting and stretching into that space around you that you are meant to take up. Let the breath be full and deep. Remember to keep practicing kindness and compassion and love with yourself. Your hands can make their way to your heart, and just take a moment, eyes closed, hands at heart, being completely with your breath and your body. And then you can let those arms come down, and you can unwind your legs from that seated position. Drop those knees side to side, letting yourself wake up from that seated position, and then just gently bring yourself back into that seated position after a few windshield wipers. We're going to lift those arms. Keep that shoulder girdle engaged. Keep pressing down with your whole self so your hip girdles engaged too. Arms come up. We're going to twist to the left. So the right hand goes to the left knee. The left arm goes behind. You can gently look behind over that left shoulder. Keep pressing yourself down and lifting yourself up. You're not really putting any weight down on that left hand back there. And then let that left arm lift up. And then bring it to the right knee, and then turn your torso to between your legs and let yourself just reach, gently grabbing onto your knees or somewhere on your thighs. Inhale and exhale, and then let yourself lift up. And then same thing, other side. Keep that shoulder girdle engaged. Do not strain any of your joints. It's now about the other way. Right hand comes down behind. You are lifting and twisting now to the right. Maybe looking over that right shoulder. Keep those shoulders out of your ears. Inhaling and exhaling. And then take your time. Let that right arm come up. And then it gently goes to that left knee. And then you can let yourself fold, reach over those legs to get that stretch. Keep pressing your glutes down and back in order to find that anchoring in, and then you stretch from there. And then let yourself come up and just take a couple breaths, inhaling and exhaling, noticing how you feel, breathing full and deep. And then doing a few cat and cows, lifting that heart. I don't know if I said at the beginning, but there'll be some heart opener. I'm going to try to focus on opening that heart, so that's opening the front body, and then having that back body be the support for you. So these are just gentle cat and cow, starting to wake up that upper body a little bit more. Inhaling and exhaling. And then pause. Hands are going to come. So start with a neutral spine. Hands come just gently behind the head. They can interlace, but don't be squeezing too much. Inhale, lift. Exhale, pull down. Inhale, lift. So this just adds a little bit more on the neck. And then if you want to pause, and this is where you gently press the hands into the head and the head into the hands, and you're really heavy with that lower body, and you're kind of curved into that cat, and you let yourself start to rotate those elbows. Keep pulling those elbows together. This might be too much sensation. Just do what feels good, and then after a few, you're going to be done, and you're going to let yourself release, inhaling and exhaling. And we're going to come over onto those hands and knees. So take time to bring a blanket down so you are comfortable, and press back into your child. I'm going to take a sip of water. Make sure you're always taking care of yourself, feeling yourself from the inside out, not the outside in. So try not just to feel yourself like sensorily what you can take in, but try to get in touch with your very deepest center, and then radiate from that place. Move from that place, experience life from that place. Inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep, only coming into as much of a child as feels good to you, staying with your breath, inhaling and exhaling. Try to stay connected to that sensation of pressing your whole self back, and then also that sensation of reaching your whole self forward no matter what your pose is. Lift yourself up into your table. Coming into your stable table, you walk those knees right underneath those hips, hands right underneath those shoulders, and you engage both the girdles. That's the lower girdle. So maybe do a few pelvic tilts, and then maybe do a few shoulder blade gentle squeezes, and then you are holding both of them in that place of engagement, and then the cat and cow is in the middle, inhaling and exhaling. So let that middle back get some love. And then pause in your neutral position. Keep lifting up off the floor as you gently press down. Feel yourself, hold yourself in your trunk, right there behind your navel, in front of your tail, so your arms are not bearing all the weight. You are lifting yourself up. Taking a couple more big, deep breaths. And then making sure that your knees are in a place that support you. You want them to keep pressing down evenly. Be careful of your elbows. Keep your shoulders engaged. Reach your arms forward. Send your buns up. And then just let your heart come down. Inhaling and exhaling. Your forehead might come to the mat. Maybe your chin. That's a big stretch. Keep breathing. This is puppy dog, heart opener. Keep trying to bring that heart closer to the floor. You're not pulling the blades so much, squeezing them together as you are gently tucking them. And then making sure you're always protecting your elbows. Lift yourself, release that stretch. Walk those knees as wide apart as feels good. And let yourself once again come back into your child, resting however feels good. Inhaling and exhaling, staying with your breath. Always taking a few moments to reset, knowing that child is always available to you whenever you need it. So make sure that you honor your body. Inhaling and exhaling, take yourself up into that table. You're going to curl those toes. Make sure you keep your trunk nice and supported so your sockets are engaged. You're going to protect your joints as you lift yourself into your downward dog, and then move as little or as much as feels good. Keep lifting yourself up off those limbs. Same thing here. You are holding yourself in your trunk. Your limbs are not holding you up. Your limbs are just propping you up. And let yourself move as much or as little as feels good. Remember, you can always come to rest in table or child. Inhaling and exhaling. Take your time to move from a downward dog to the top of your space, whether you drop down to hands and knees or you lift your hips up a little bit higher, and then walk yourself up into that place of supported forward fold. So make sure you've got your feet planted in, balls and heels. Play around with the weight. Find that perfect spot where you balance between those balls and those heels, and then find that place. I like to karate chop right into those hip flexors, right underneath that lower belly. Keep those knees bent. Now your hamstrings, your low back, it can all have a lot of sensation. Keep your knees bent in order to allow for that. And let yourself move and swing and sway however feels good. And then eventually you're going to come to stillness. You're going to be in that forward fold, halfway, flat back. Make sure you stay balanced on those feet. Reach for the floor on the exhale. Inhale back up, halfway. Exhale for the floor. The inhale, we're going to reach all the way up, or you're going to come in stages, and I'm doing stages so you can see what that looks like, and then reach yourself into as much of a back bend as feels good, keeping those girdles engaged, pressing down evenly with those balls and heels, and then find yourself in your mountain, hands at your side, reaching your whole self down to plug into the space underneath you so you root down, and then feel yourself lift and reach out of that space. So plug in those balls and heels. Find the four corners or the tripod of your foot. Lift all 10 toes. Spread them wide, and then bring them down gently for that gentle grip on the mat. Try not to use your toes too much. They really are just there to look pretty. And then kneecaps up into those thighs so you protect that knee joint, never coming into that hyperextend mode. And then your thighs plug right into your lower trunk, and you engage those sockets by gently tucking your tail, Pulling those hip flexors forward, think navel dimples down, solid base. So it's not just a squeeze of the muscles, it is a squeeze of the muscles, a gentle engagement of the muscles, and engagement of the framework that is deep inside. And then from that solid base, you lift yourself right up out of it, taking and stretching up into that space around you that you are meant to take up. Think about that crown of the head coming up higher, but then that gentle pressure on the tops of your shoulders. Keep trying to open your collarbone. Remember, your toes are not gripping, so feel those balls and heels. Don't lose that lower body. It's the sensation of your upper and your front body constantly being lifted to the ceiling, to the sky, and then your lower and your back body constantly being anchored in, and you are right in the middle. And we're going to flow with that sensation, lifting into as much of a back bend as feels good. Remember to put the stretch where it's supposed to be and the move where it's supposed to be, so that you're moving from that hip region, coming forward into that forward fold, lift up, halfway, flat back, to come back down and step back into plank, knee down plank or table. Bear your weight, keep your girdles engaged, release down. Only lift up into as much of a cobra as feels good. Maybe you want to stay low. Maybe you feel like coming up higher. Protect your low back as you lift into your downward dog, or you're going right back into child. Always an option. Inhaling and exhaling. Take your time. Come to the top of your space. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Make sure that you feel steady. Lift up, halfway, flat back. Back down for the toes. Back up above the head. Back down for the toes. Doesn't matter how you do it. You're hinging. Lifting halfway. Back down to the plank, the knee down plank, the table. Keep those girdles engaged. Release down, bear your weight, lift up, protect your low back into a downward dog or a child or a table. Keep those elbows protected. Keep your knees bent. Protect all of the joints. Making your way to the front of your space. Take your time, lift up, halfway, flat back. Back down for the floor, and then reach back up above your head to come back through. Third time, lift up. We should be nice and warm after this. Release down. Make sure you're engaging those girdles. Lift up. Come into your downward dog. Here's where you're going to spend 2 to 3 breaths, and then make your way down to your child. And rest completely. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Inhaling and exhaling. Staying with your breath. Staying with your heartbeat. Definitely keeping your thoughts in a place where they're not overtaking. You're trying to find the space between your thoughts. Inhale and exhale. Okay, it's your call. You come up into that downward dog, or you're in that table, doesn't matter. We're going to bring that right leg up, 3-legged dog, and you can play around with that. And I love to use blocks here, so be careful. Blocks help to just lift the floor up, and it can bring the floor up. We're going to bring that right foot up between your hands, coming into that runner's lunge. So your right foot, left foot on railroad track. So the Warrior Series, it's really a trifecta. It's your right foot, left foot, and then your trunk. So feel the engagement of your trunk. Keep pulling that tail down. Keep pulling those hip flexors forward. Pressing back with that left heel, pressing down forward with that right heel, and lifting yourself up. And don't lift your arms up over your head, because we're going to do something with the arms just to engage. So keep them at your heart or your hips to start with, just so you feel nice and supported. And then make sure that you feel nice and supported. So if your stance is too wide, you might want to choke it up a little bit. Now bring your arms into that goalpost arms now. Those blades are engaged. That heart is open. Really press down with that lower trunk and then gently lift up. Now you're going to have your gaze maybe travel up above your head. Try not to cram your neck. Inhale and exhale. Lift that heart. You're not squeezing the blades together. You're tucking them in and they are rounding. Your back is rounding over that great big imaginary beach ball. Inhale and exhale. You're going to bring yourself back through center. Hands are going to come down on either side of that right foot, and you're going to decide, do I want to step back and go right to a downward dog or a child, or do I want to go through that little flow? Because that little flow is always on the table. And rest in that downward dog, inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep. And then set up in your warrior one, or crescent lunge actually, where you bring that left leg up and you can be through table, coming into that crescent lunge. Feet are on railroad tracks. Find your right ball and your left ball and then square your hips. And so your hips are where you're holding yourself and then you're pressing those legs away. So try to find that evenness, and that helps you then stay. If you find that evenness, and then you keep with that engagement. Remember, have your arms start at the hips or just go as high as the heart. Make sure you get everything even. So you're trying to square your hips. So I like to put my hands on my hip girdle in order to feel that. I'm always looking for my crack, the dimples, making sure everything is square to the back and the front. And then once you feel steady and stable, bring those arms into those goalpost arms. Your lower body stays solid from navel dimples down. And then you gently lift that heart. Maybe your gaze comes up. Don't lose that lunge. Stay where you can feel even between those right and those left feet. Inhale and exhale. And then bring yourself back through center. Take your time. Switch yourself back into that plank, knee down plank, and then move through a flow or right up to that downward dog, inhaling and exhaling, and then take a couple breaths down in your child, breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Make sure you're drinking water if you need it. Letting yourself completely marinate in how your body feels. Take care of yourself. Make sure you've got your blocks near you or some other sort of prop in order to help you. They just help you get so much deeper into the poses. All right, we're going to bring that right foot up between our hands again. Doesn't matter how it happens. So you've got that right foot right underneath your face, your hands on either side of that right foot, whether they're on the floor or the blocks, and you're finding that trifecta, right foot, left foot, and then your body. And then you're going to smear down that back foot. Keep paying attention to your joints, and then bring the block to the inside of the right foot and then open up into that side angle. And you might have to stretch your legs a little bit further apart. And this is just a different way to come into side angle. Hopefully you feel a little pinch on that right hip flexor as you pull that right glute, pulling it down and lifting that left. That means you've got it engaged, those hips engaged, because now you're trying to square to the long edge. And so you're trying to square to the front of the long edge and your back body to the back of the long edge. All right, lift yourself into that warrior two. Flip that palm. And when you flip that palm, go ahead and lengthen that front leg by lifting yourself up. So you come into that marvelous, marvelous reverse triangle. And then back into the warrior two to hang in that two. So try to find that place between the inside of your right knee and the inside of your left hip flexor and press away. So that means you are engaging that back body in order to lift that front body. Stretch away from the midline, inhaling and exhaling. Make sure that you're pressing back gently through that back left heel. Those left toes are a little bit closer to you than the heel, and don't use the toes. Use the balls, inhaling and exhaling. You should feel even on both feet here. All right, take your time. We're going to come into that side angle again. Make sure that you feel comfortable. That right arm rests down wherever. Now that left arm is going to gently drape behind. Do not hurt your elbow. Do not hurt your wrist. Do not hurt your shoulder. It does not have to reach that right leg. It just needs to go as far as your crack and then gently open up. Inhaling and exhaling, staying with your breath. Keep that left arm behind you. Lift into that half warrior one. Reach into that reverse warrior. Lengthen into that reverse triangle. Try to keep that left arm behind you until you get that right arm down. So take your time. Keep opening that left side up so you are trying to face the long edge. And when you get that right arm down into that place of that triangle, then lift that left arm up. Try to keep those girdles engaged. Keep trying to press against an imaginary wall right behind you. Imagine there's a wall right in front of you. Protect those kneecaps, inhaling and exhaling. You're going to look down towards that right foot. You're going to rotate. This is where you are the boss of you. You are lifting at your center to come back into that runner's lunge. Send that left heel back, settle those hips down, and then leave that left arm down. Twist open with that right arm, inhaling and exhaling, and then make your way through the plank, the knee down plank, to move through the flow if you want, and then go up to the downward dog. Take your time, inhaling and exhaling. I'm going to come down so I can turn around. Make sure, I'm also going to take the sweatshirt off. I'm getting a little warm. Make sure that you are taking care of you. And so rest as much as you need to rest. Letting yourself completely reset. I'm going to have another little drink. Inhaling and exhaling. We're going to bring that left leg forward. Doesn't matter what it looks like. Just make sure you've got blocks. Find that trifecta. We came into that warrior one to start with. That crescent lunge to then warrior one. Did we lift up and do anything? I don't think we did. But I know we came into, sorry if I messed this up, but I know we came into side angle and then we did a whole bunch of stuff in warrior two. So that's where we're going, is into side angle. You smear down that back leg. Remember to stay with your center. You're going to reach that right arm up and you're going to try to open those hips to the long edge. Inhaling and exhaling. Lift yourself into that warrior two. Take your time to reset. And then here's where we did lift into that reverse triangle just to give it a little break. And then we came back into the warrior two. That right heel a little bit further away from you than the toes. And you are reaching from the midline of your body, trying to square to the long edge. And then we came into that side angle, that top arm gently draped. Breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest. Keep trying to rotate your heart up to the sky. Keep that right arm behind you, lifting yourself into that reverse warrior and then into that reverse triangle. That right arm stays behind you. It doesn't have to go that hand never has to go any further than that crack. And then make your way into that half triangle. And when you get that left side down, use it, you're anchoring down, and then stay with that rotation to let that right arm come up. Inhaling and exhaling. There's an imaginary wall behind you. There's an imaginary wall in front of you. Take your time. You're rotating down. You're lifting yourself up. And you are coming into that runner's lunge position on railroad tracks. Leave that right side down and lift that left side to come into that twisted runner's lunge. Remember, that right knee can always come down to the ground, and then you're going to step back into the plank, knee down plank, to decide, do you want to go through the flow or do you want to press right up to the downward dog? And after a couple breaths in that downward dog, rest down on your knees for a couple breaths. Inhaling and exhaling. And then take your time from your child. You've rested down in your child. You're going to bring yourself into that downward dog. To walk those hands back towards your feet. Make sure you feel supported. Lift yourself up either into that great big reverse swan dive, or take your time coming up into steps to then come into that standing position. To then bring yourself to the long edge of your space. Bring your legs out as a little bit wider than your hips. You always feel in control of your legs. Keep pressing down into the balls and heels. Find that trifecta of where you feel most comfortable. It's the three parts. It's the right leg, the left leg, and you right in the middle. And you're always protecting those kneecaps. And to start with, you're turning the toes so they are they're pointing towards the long edge, and they may be turned in a little bit. It just depends on how your body feels. You're always trying to protect yourself. And your hands are going to be at your hips, and you're going to keep those legs long as you extend into that halfway. This takes a lot of weight to keep yourself lifted. If you even want to bring your hands down to a block, you totally can. Take another inhale and then exhale. Let yourself come down over into that forward fold. Remember, you are in charge always of how wide apart those legs are. So you're always doing whatever feels good to you in order to get them into a place of support. And you're never hyperextending or damaging joints in order to get a muscle stretch. Inhale and exhale, and then let yourself come up to an upright position. Make sure that your legs are going to support you. So if you walk them out wide, bring them in a little bit so that you have that steady base to then lift yourself up into that upright position. And then once again, just bring those legs in underneath you and spend a couple breaths standing on 2 feet, noticing how you feel. And then back with the legs out a little bit. Remember, you're engaging from the glute and hip flexor down, but this time you're turning the toes out, heels in, and then you are sitting down right between that place. So you're trying to find that place where you, and this is once again a trifecta. It is the right leg, the left leg, find that ball and that heel, and then you are sitting down into the goddess lifting that upper body. Of course, your hands don't have to lift up. We're going to do a little something different here. We're going to bring our hands just gently behind those ears and then just dip down one elbow to the other side. Inhale and exhale. And then pause, right elbow to right knee. This is a great place for a block. Bring that, keep yourself down in that goddess pose. Bring that right arm down and press against that right leg. And then lift that left arm. So feel that stretch as you press your booty back and you lift your heart and then back into the goddess to come to the other side. Left arm down. Keep that butt nice and low. And then lift that right arm back through center. Sink a little bit lower and then press to lengthen. And then walk those legs in so they are underneath you and you definitely feel control of your legs and you are breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Stay with your breath. And then to the side, to face the short edge, you're on railroad tracks. You're bringing that right foot forward, that left foot. Well, start with both feet right underneath you and then just step that right foot forward so you find yourself and find both balls, both heels on the ground, and you are lifting yourself up from that place. Engage those hip flexors so you find that place of support and you are lifting those kneecaps up into your thighs. This is a big stretch for your shoulders, your front body, your back body, so you only go as far as feels good. Either reach your hands back and just reach for your elbows, or if you can just go for your wrists. If you can come into prayer, do prayer. Keep that lower body engaged as you lift first. Lifting up, that heart is coming up, and then let yourself hinge. Keep trying to engage your front and your back body. Pull up with that navel so you protect that low back, and then you are hanging for a few breaths in that active pyramid. Keep pressing down with both legs. See how my legs are not very far apart? You always want to have total and complete control. You want both your right shoulder and your left shoulder to be even here. Take another inhale and then let those arms come out from behind. Let the hands come down to the floor or blocks, and then let yourself release over that right leg so you feel that complete and total surrender. And then make sure you've got room. You're going to kick that left leg up. You're going to come to stand on that right leg, and you are going to kick that left leg up into your standing split. Inhaling and exhaling. Bring that right foot away from that left foot. Try to bring the crown of your head to the top of your right foot. Inhale and exhale. This is a great place for blocks. So you've got room. Keep your hips square. You're going to drop that right knee that left knee right behind that right knee. So really bend into that right knee and sit back. I love these. These are Kundalini squats. And then lift, dip, lift. You're lifting with your glute. Dip, you're dipping with your glute. All right, you're going to bring that left foot up, and then you're going to bring it down next to the right foot. You're going to stand however feels good to you, whether you just reach up in that reverse swan dive or you come up in stages. Find yourself in the middle of your space. Inhaling and exhaling. Take that foot forward, that other foot, the left foot forward. Remember, the stance is never very big. You are on railroad tracks, and you can feel evenly between the ball and the heel of both feet. And remember, your toes not doing any work, actually. Lift those kneecaps, bring those arms. We're going to do that stretch again. Lift up, feel that solid base. And then let yourself come over those legs. Try to keep those low backs square. So try not to skew your low back. All this is happening in your glute and your back body. Inhale and exhale. Take another inhale and then let those arms go so you can come into that stretch. Over that left leg, that front leg. Inhale and exhale. Remember, don't let the toes do a lot of work. That's what's happening right here. No toe work. As you bring your weight into that left leg and send that right leg up into that standing split, press those heels away from each other. Keep trying to find, this is a great place for that karate chop, to lift that lower belly so you can get a little bit deeper in the standing split, and it also provides you a little bit more room then to then come into the Kundalini squats. 3, I think this is 4. Here's 5. You know I don't like to count. You're going to bring that right foot down next to the left foot, and you are going to come to standing, hands to your heart, belly, one of each, out to the side. Notice how you feel. Filling up, taking time on your mat, on those 2 feet. Make sure you feel completely supported by your body. You're lifting up off those legs. Your legs are not what are holding you up. You're holding yourself in your center, and your legs are pressing down and getting a wonderful stretch. All right, let yourself come back to the back of your space, and then you're going to walk down those legs. Take your time, keep those knees bent. Let's come into that downward dog for 2 to 3 breaths. I love coming into downward dog after a little bit of balance work. Inhaling and exhaling. Take your time and then make your way down to rest in your child. Completely resetting. Inhale and exhale. And then you're going to bring yourself all the way down onto the stomach. Take your time. Bend those knees. Windshield wiper. So remember the clock on, I haven't talked about it yet, but I have in other classes, the clock, 12 and 6 on your pelvis. Imagine 12 and 6 on your behind as well. You're always trying to square. So pulling those pelvises down so those hip flexors engage while you're in this prone position is something you really want to do in order to keep those low backs nice and engaged, or those low backs nice and protected. So the move goes into a different part, goes into your trunk, into your lower trunk. Let those hands come down by your sides, your legs, you're walking them together. You are in that beginning locust position. You are only lifting up whatever feels good. So if you don't want to lift up what I suggest, don't do it. Start with those legs. Keep lifting them. Find the knee up off the ground, not your hip though, maybe part of your thigh. Keep bringing those legs to the midline. Lift yourself from the lower body, lifting those arms only if it feels good. Inhale and exhale. And then let yourself release down. Completely reset. Inhaling and exhaling. Woo. I think I ate too soon before I did this because, woo, it's doing a number on me. But I want to get into 2 more stretches. Make sure that you are protecting yourself. And you're only doing as much as feels good. This next one is a big shoulder. It's similar to what we did Standing, this time you're going to bring your hands together, gently clasp, engage those shoulders and lift. Only lift as much as feels good. I'm not lifting very much. But if you are lifting higher, that's great. Keep breathing. Like I said, I think the food I ate was a little too soon. Inhale and exhale, and then release, let go. Oh, and then here's where I want to offer up bow. This is where you bend those knees and reach back, which I am not going to do because I think that I would lose it. So I'm going to come and do half bow. So I'm going to come onto my elbows, and this is a great alternative. I'm going to leave my right elbow right underneath my right shoulder, bend my left knee, and reach back with my left arm, gently pulling that left leg. I'm pressing that left knee away, and then I'm gently turning towards that right bicep, and you get this beautiful stretch down your midline. Do not hurt your joints ever. And then release. Same thing, other side. If you're doing full bow, you are still protecting yourself always. Inhale and exhale, and then release to then lift yourself up to once again, well, come in a table and move through a few cat and cows because your low back from that position might need a little stretch. And then I think it's actually wonderful to be up into that cat and then pull back into that child from that cat and see if that gives you some opening there in that low back. Inhaling and exhaling. And then you're going to find yourself on your back. Take your time. Hopefully you've got blocks or a bolster or a blanket, because that is going to be one of the things we're going to do here on our back, is we're going to open up our heart in an active restorative posture. But first, before we do that, let's imagine that clock as we are laying on our back, pulling our pelvis into that place of support. Try to keep those hip flexors, those hip sockets heavy, only lifting those feet up off the floor if it's something that feels good to you. If that does not feel good to you, don't lift your feet up off the floor. And like I said, the more you keep that pelvis tilted in that place of support, and you play around with that 12, 6, 9, 3, trying to pull that everything level, and then you're in a place of support. Rocking, circling, doing whatever feels good. Bringing those feet down, hands down by your sides. Lower and lift, engage those legs as you lower and lift in that bridge position, only pausing in that neutral or in that lifted position. If you want to pause, if you want to keep lowering and lifting, do. If you pause and want to roll your shoulders under, please do. You don't have to. All right, lower down one vertebrae at a time, and once again, rock, circle, whatever feels good. And then let yourself lengthen those legs down your mat. Let those arms come above your head. Pull those hands as far away from you as you can. Feel that stretch underneath your underarms. Press through those toes so you lengthen that whole front body. And then I want you to engage. Pull those shoulders down, arms reaching up still, and then flex those feet and press through those heels. If you want to bring your hands together in that steeple position, you totally can. Walk your feet, your legs over to the right a little bit. Pick yourself up and gently pull yourself into that C curve on the right. Make sure you feel both shoulder blades connected. Right shoulder blade, left shoulder blade, as you dip your fingers. And if your arms are apart, they're just reaching up, and then you're reaching to the right. All right, your upper body goes back into that neutral position. Your legs go back into the neutral position. And then you walk the legs over to the left, and then you pick yourself up and move yourself into that C curve. So you're trying to, you can even have that left arm reaching down. You get this. I should have this like a drone come up so you can see above. All right, let yourself come back to that neutral position. Make sure you rock, you circle, you do whatever feels good, inhaling and exhaling. Let yourself rest in a spinal twist move. You're dropping your knees to one side, coming through center, and dropping them to the other. And then bring yourself up after you feel complete in the twist to go into a happy baby, really trying to always press your lower body down to the floor. And then after a few breaths, set yourself up for a heart opener. This is where you grab the bolster. This is where you get your blocks. You are trying to find that place where you can relax for a few breaths. I'm going to show you with blocks. Keep pulling those blades together. So you're looking, or gently engaging those blades. You're looking for that place, excuse me, right there at your shoulder blade to bring yourself down, and then rest your head. Your arms are wherever. Your low back, you need to lift it and pull it. You still want to engage. You want to pull that pelvis, that clock into place, and rest here for a few breaths. Inhaling and exhaling. Staying with your breath. And then if you are on blocks, make sure you protect yourself as you lift yourself and come up. And then the next stop is relaxation. Make sure you find yourself in a warm, comfortable place. So put on any layers that you've taken off. Make sure that you've got cushion underneath you, your head, your body. And let yourself settle into your relaxation. I will be here meditating for a few moments. I will not let you be late for your next thing, so stay and relax. body. Letting yourself wake up from your relaxation. Take your time. This is still an important posture. You should not rush through it. Excuse me, a little twitch of your fingers and your toes. A gentle circling of your wrists and ankles. And then the bend of your knees and elbows. Make sure you keep your sockets engaged if you decide to go in for the hug. Around your legs as you rock and circle. They're on your back, and then roll to one side. Rest in that fetal-like position. Resting there for a few breaths, connecting to your navel, that place where you began, and you are grateful to yourself for being born, and grateful to yourself for treating yourself to yoga. And now you can go forth and do awesome stuff with your life. Press yourself up into that upright seated position. Make sure you feel comfortable and supported. Hands can come to your heart. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care.